Yeah, hi, my name is Sukhjinder Sandhu. I am doing this video not for followers or to become famous. I'm just doing this because I want people to be helped out by um, what I've gone through, and it's in regards to heart disease and diabetes, and also the relationship between uh, actual sugar and diabetes. All right, so let's get started. Um, December 6th of 2020, I was sitting at home, and actually I just came back from Subway, and I had a meal, and about half an hour after I had this meal, I started to feel pressure right here. It would go from here to here, and I thought it was indigestion, and so I asked people that had indigestion how long indigestion lasts, because after I had my indigestion, I was right here in this room, and um, I, I thought I had gas or something also, and this lasted for about an hour, and then I had this kind of an episode where I sweat like crazy, to the point where I had to change my clothes. Um, it was so bad. Like, it was one hour of trying to get rid of this indigestion or gas or whatever in my. I thought it was down here, but it was basically going from here to here, and then stopping right about here. So I I tried to burp over and over again, and finally I managed to burp really like a long burp out, and that it kind of relieved it. So I thought, okay, this is good. But after I had that crazy sweating episode, I figured everything would be fine. But for the next 2 days, I still had that pressure, a little bit of pressure. It wasn't painful, it was just pressure, and it kept happening. So on Monday night at around 9 o'clock, I got my wife to check my blood pressure, because I was wondering, could this have been a heart attack? And my blood pressure was 190 over 110. And then we checked it again 9:30, and it was 185 over 108. And then we checked it again at 10 o'clock, and the same thing. It was 190 over 110. So I kind of got worried at that point, because I already, um, my blood pressure usually was around 140 over 80, and well, I was right on the border of uh, of being high blood pressure. I hadn't started taking any pills though, so I waited and thought, okay, I'll try and go to sleep and see if I can sleep this thing off. So at uh, 3 a.m. I woke up to go to the washroom, and when I was done, I still had the issue. So I thought, man, this kind of indigestion shouldn't last this long. So I got my wife ready, and we arrived at the hospital at 5 a.m. And when I got there, they diagnosed me with having. I told the doctor, actually, what I did was I went up to them, to the nurses at the reception, and I said that I'm having chest pressure from here to here. And because I did that, they were able to get me in within 5 minutes, and I waited for about maybe 5 more minutes before I was able to see the doctor. Prior to that, I had a blood test while I was waiting to get to the room for the doctor, and they did also blood pressure check, and so I get to the waiting area, the room where the doctor is, and he comes back with the result, and he goes, "It looks as though you've had a heart attack," and I was like, "What, really?" And so he saw my blood pressure, and he said it was like 190 over 110 at that point. And so then he had me go into this room to get an x-ray, the x-ray room. And I had the x-ray, and the first x-ray I had while I was lying down, no, actually they made me stand up. And then I sat down after the first x-ray, and then they wanted me to have another x-ray. And as I'm about to get up for that, they, well, actually, not them, but as I was about to get up, my head started to feel light, like lightheaded. I felt, and so I was like, can we hang on a minute here? I'm not sure what's going on, but so I need a little minute to gather myself here. So then, as I'm about to stand up, I sit back down, and then I am on the bed, and I'm telling them that I need to go to the washroom, and they're like, "Okay, we can do that." And then they're like, "Well, why don't you just come back over onto this side, and we'll do the X-ray with you laying down." So then I go, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." And then when as I'm about to lay down, I completely pass out. And then I'm not quite sure how long I was out, probably about 1 or 2 minutes. And the first thing I asked the nurse is, what happened? And she goes, "Well, we're glad you came back to us." So I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you were gone, like you passed out, and we didn't know if you were going to come back because your blood pressure dropped so much." So when I came back to, all I could see was a white light. Like, I couldn't, in front of me, I couldn't see anybody. I couldn't see anything. All I saw was a bright white light. And I thought to myself, okay, let's see if this straightens itself out after I get some more blood pressure back in my body, maybe. So after a few minutes, everything started to clear up again, and it was like half white, and I could actually see like a door and stuff like that. And eventually everything came back, and I was able to see everything, and saw doorways, and so I was like, okay, this is good. We're back. And so then they told me that I needed to be admitted because they wanted to keep an eye on me. And I said, okay, fine. So the reason why I had that episode where I passed out completely, I believe is because I was given a nitroglycerin, a little spray right under the tongue, and I think that caused my blood pressure to come down. So I'm pretty sure that was it. And so from there, I stayed in the hospital for 4 days. When I first arrived at the hospital, my blood sugar was 21 millimoles per liter, and that's fairly high because the regular one is supposed to be 5.5 or lower, and up to like 4, I think. Actually, not. maybe 5 to 5.5 around there. But anyways, so they watched me, and they told me that when I got to my own room there in the cardiac unit, they said that I would go for an angiogram on the 12th, so 2 days later. And I ended up having to go for the stent and with the angiogram I went for at 12 o'clock that same day. And after I had the angiogram around 3 or 4 o'clock, they noticed that I had some blockages. So the one that was causing the pressure was about 90% blocked. So they decided to put a stent in, and that's what happened. And all that, I was done by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the pressure was relieved. So I stayed in the hospital for 4 more days, and my blood sugar when I left the hospital was 14 millimoles per liter, and the lowest it dropped to was 14 when I got discharged. And they didn't really put me on any kind of diabetic diet. They did give me insulin, but it turns out that I didn't really need insulin because my pancreas was functioning properly. I just couldn't get my blood sugar down, so they gave me medication, metformin, taking 2,000 milligrams of metformin per day in the form of 4 500 milligram pills. Plus I have glyburide, I think it's a 42 milligram twice a day. And when I got home, I started watching YouTube videos. Yes, and I have those doctors that I was watching on my projector screen here. So you can see we have, the first one is Dr. Sten Ekberg. He's a holistic doctor, and I learned quite a bit from him. His videos are very, very informative. The next one is Dr. Ford Brewer, and he is also very good because he points out what tests you need and what tests he's had, because he's also had plaque in his arteries. And the third one is down below, there, right there, yeah, is Dr. Esselstyn. He's an advocate of an all vegetable diet or plant-based diet. And the one beside him is Nina Teicholz. She speaks about the issues with the lies that come with basically lying about the different studies that lie about eating meat and how it causes cancer and whatnot. And so these are the people I've been watching, and from what I've gathered, I've changed my diet slightly, and I want to let you know about my discoveries to this point in time. So, first of all, because I have diabetes, it's type 2 diabetes is what it's called actually. It's one where I should be able to control it based on what I eat, right? So at first I thought to myself, okay, this is fine. And so in my diet is breaded food like chicken burgers and chicken nuggets and whatnot. And also I still eat red meat. I still eat pork. I still eat chicken. I still eat potatoes. I still eat uh, vegetables. Um, so I didn't switch to either one of them. All plant based or all meat based. And what what I've been what I've discovered is that diabetes doesn't exactly have anything to do with how much sugar you're eating. It actually has to do with how much vegetable oil you consume. Um, in examples of this, I have had times where I've eaten one potato chip. In Canada, we have something called the no-name potato chip, and what I usually do is, if you could, can you grab that? Yeah, those potato chips right there. Yeah, you open it up. Open that bacon. All right. So these are your potato chips, and this is what they look like. This is what they look like. There's a sour cream and onion, and they're potato chips. Okay. So when I was in the hospital and my blood sugar was at 21, I mentioned to the doctor that I had been eating for my dinner in my job as a truck driver. I had been eating pasta daily for the last 3-4 years, and that I decided to stop eating this pasta because I wanted to see if I changed my diet slightly, if I could make myself not be so thirsty. Normally, in a day, I would drink 4 liters of water, and I would end up having to go to the washroom every 2 to 3 hours. And that's hard to do when you're a truck driver. You always got to be looking for a washroom. So what I did was 2 to 3 weeks before the December 6th heart attack, I stopped eating pasta, and I started taking potato wedges with me. And it was successful. The first day after I started doing that, I managed to not have to go to the washroom for 6 hours. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. So I kept up with that diet, and the cardiologist that I spoke with and mentioned this to was surprised, and he said, "Oh, so you're saying that potatoes are the cure to diabetes?" I said, "I don't know about that, but for me, that's what worked." I've been having a major problem with, for the last 7 to 8 months, having to drink 3-4 liters of water every single day because I was so thirsty, and having to urinate 2 to 3 times after every 2 to 3 hours. So we move on from there. When I got back home after watching all these people and on YouTube, I decided on my own to cut out 100% of carbs. And the other thing that I cut out was basically vegetable oil. Now, those two things I managed, I cut out completely. So it brought my sugar down. Now I've got an app there. It's called My Sugar. My A1C was on that app was down to about 5.4, and in the paperwork for the hospital, my A1C was showing as 8.5, and so I managed to get it down. Um, at home, at times, my blood sugar would drop after my medication and whatnot. In the afternoon, it would drop to one time it dropped down to 2.5. So then I had to eat a whole bunch of candy and chocolate bars and stuff to get it back up, because my hands had started shaking like this, and I was sweating like crazy, and so I thought to myself, okay, this is not a good thing. I need to figure this out. So um, I figured out that because this happened to me in the middle of the night too, sometimes. And can you pause it? Sorry about that. I had to bring something up on the computer. I mean, on the phone that I could show you guys. So I think about 2 weeks in, I went to bed at around 10 or 11 at night, and I had to wake up around 2:30 in the morning because my comforter, if you can see that, that's sweat stains. It looks like a really wet person laid down on the comforter. That's because there was so much sweat from me. And the reason for that is because my blood sugar dropped like crazy, and that was the cause and effect there. That was me sweating like crazy. So now, in order to fix this issue, I figured out that sugar does not really affect blood sugar. What does affect blood sugar? What does affect blood sugar is actually how much vegetable oil you have in your system. So what I did was around 12 o'clock I started having potato chips so that my blood sugar wouldn't drop to like 2.5. It would just stay steady throughout the night. At first I tried it with candy, and I didn't like how high my blood sugar went. It would be around 4.3 when I was about to go to sleep, and then in the morning it'd be like 8.5. So I was like, I tried it with one full candy. Then I used a half candy, one of those mints. If you can show them the mint. So I would use 10 potato chips and this one candy so that my blood sugar would not drop. And because I was still under the impression that the candy was what was causing my issues. And so what I ended up doing was I halved the candy and then I quartered the candy. Then after a while I thought to myself, okay, this is going okay, because the next day my blood sugar would be around 7 after fasting for 8 hours. And so then what I decided to do was I thought to myself, you know what, I thought to myself, I should try and see what foods are causing my blood sugar to spike. So I've been doing that for the last 2.5 months, and I've realized that certain foods that they tell you cause your blood sugar to spike are actually not doing that. What does cause your blood sugar to spike is vegetable oil and having those foods. So, as an example, there was a date. I'm not exactly sure what the date was. It was about 3 weeks ago that I had chicken burgers that were breaded in vegetable oil, and breaded and then fried in vegetable oil. My blood sugar spiked from 3.7 to 11.7. So 8 points 2 hours after I ate. And I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. This vegetable oil has something to do with the spike in my blood sugar. Because after the after the chicken burgers that I ate, I had an apple and I had peanut butter, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, which I always have after dinner, with 100 milliliters of milk, just regular old fatty milk. It's homo milk, basically, is what they call it. Anyways, so after that situation occurred, I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I should try using. I read the label on the potato chip bag here, and it mentioned that there was canola oil and I can't remember what other oils there were. Sunflower oil. There's two or three different oils in this potato chip bag. So I thought to myself, okay, there's vegetable oil seems to cause my blood sugar to spike. So what we're going to do is we are going to use that to our advantage. So at 10 o'clock, when I go to sleep and my blood sugar is at 4.3, I eat now just 10 plain potato chips. No more candy with that. I said, I'll try that, see how it goes. So that only caused my blood sugar to rise. There was no more dropping of my blood sugar at night. It would just go steady through, and then in the morning it would rise about 4 points. So I thought to myself, what would happen if instead of eating 10 potato chips, I only ate 5? So then I did that with 5, and it dropped again.
Go.
Yeah, hi. So sorry. My cameraman had a cramp, so I had to pause it. I'm sorry about that. So where was I? I was talking about how I started to figure out that if I used vegetable oil to my advantage by having these chips are 1/3 by weight vegetable oil. That's what I read on there. Actually, I looked that up on the internet, but they're 1/3 by weight vegetable oil. So what I do now is at night, I went from 10 chips to 5 chips with no candy, and it worked well. I would get a boost of about 3 millimoles per liter from the time I went to sleep to the time I woke up. And then after that, I decided, hey, you know what? If 5 chips can do this, why don't we try 1 chip? So then I brought it down to 1 chip. Just eat 1 chip before you go to sleep, and the blood sugar does not drop to lower levels like 2.5 and then come back up like spike. So with that, it only goes up about 2 points. Now, from the time I go to sleep, it will be like 4.3, and when I wake up, it'll be 6.2. So then, that part is taken care of. Now, I would like to tell you about what I eat throughout the day. So, I wake up around 6:30. I usually have to go to the washroom around 6:30. And will eat my breakfast, which is 3 boiled eggs, hard boiled eggs, with black pepper and hot sauce. And along with this, after I've eaten those eggs and taken my medication, I will eat 1 tablespoon of peanut butter with 100 milliliters of milk. My blood sugar will be around 6.2, 6.3 at that point in time. And sometimes it's even lower. Sometimes it's like 5.4. And then what I eat is I will cut half an apple, put salt on it, and lately I've been eating strawberries, 3 strawberries that I've cut up and put in there too. And then usually about half hour to an hour later, I will eat a plate of spinach, baby spinach, that's about this big, and like 4 or 5 handfuls of spinach with balsamic vinegar. Recently I discovered that because I didn't really read the label carefully before, I was shocked to find out that 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar has 6 grams of sugar in it. So that means I was eating 24 grams of balsamic vinegar with my spinach at a sitting. Now, the reason why I'm eating balsamic vinegar with baby spinach is because Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, has pointed out in his videos that balsamic vinegar and spinach, balsamic vinegar with any green actually, most, but the best greens for this, create a chemical molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, and that molecule is the natural vasodilator inside your arteries and veins. So, as far as I can remember here, I don't want to make a mistake with the medical terminology or the medical effect of this molecule. So he mentioned to use balsamic vinegar. I don't know if other vinegars do the same thing, but he did say